Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my Jaybird. We're continuing with my Jaybird little mini series here, and I'm in black. Let's get to it. And it's Jaybird, Donna's Bird, Nightbird to bot 2685, game 72. Yes, I did use the arrows, but and this is the first opening I created, and it worked into my theory, and it looks similar to most all the openings and theory that how I use my pieces and do my attack into the Knight's Bird. Even remember 1976, 77. You see a lot of this already, and I don't use no arrows in it, and I perform it. And this is the one I beat Deep Fritz 8 with, and this is the first one I ever won a game with in 76 and 77. Let's get to it. E4, D6, D4, E6, C3, D7, F3, E7. There's your Jaybird since 1977. And like I said, this is the first creative opening I ever did. This pawn up here, this pawn up here. And the first game I ever won with. It wasn't the first one right away, but I did win with it. And I told Jay I didn't have to do it that way. I could run and put a knight up here. I could put the queen here. I could move my pieces around and so on. And this is how my theory began, my first creative opening. And it all came from this here, right here. And that's the way I play chess. And like I said in my other videos, yes, there's games where there's forced lines and yes, I did learn through over the years, through a computer, memorize 23 continuation moves, beat Deep Fritz 8 and everything else, but this is the way I played, and that's the way it is, and it's been with me ever since. Now after E7, E2, A6, castles, H6, and there's the original Jay Bernson's 1976, 1977, right here. Exactly. I created this, and I won with it. And I told you before how I explained how these pieces can move while Jay was looking at this. Now, yes, this is 2685. This is full strength, 28, maybe a little over 2800 strength. Minimum 2800, no matter what. Yes, they can change programs and do what they did. They threw a knight over a queen. Yes, they don't understand. You changing ELO factors on one move, and the shredders. I dealt with shredders when I played Deep Fritz 8, trying to do it, and it's just a mess, and everything gets chopped up, but it loses. It don't no matter what it does anyway. It can't win against this. And let's go on. After H6, E3, I do my pushes G5, D3, H5, D5, and that's what D Fritz 8 did too, and I pass E5, and that stuck with me. And even back then, I always passed here all the time, and then I played my game. Yes, after E5, I didn't do it no other way. If I would have took and played my game that way and then won, well, you'd be seeing all that because that's the way I played. But this is the way I always played. I always passed no matter which way. And that's the way it is. And I put my pieces here and I move my pieces around. Read them and weep. Okay? And I don't know if there was computers. Matter of fact, if there was color TVs back in 77, we had black and white because we couldn't afford. I remember my mom saying, oh, I can't afford a color TV. Okay? So I don't know if there was computers back then. Read them and weep. This is the truth you got coming right here. I got to lay this down heavy. And I know what this is and what can be done and how they can change the programs. And I learned, and I know about my Knight's Bird now. I know, because I know about this, I know about other things. After E5, D1, G4, D2, and nobody's going to tell me any different than that. H4, F4, passes, takes F3, H3. It don't matter. You go down. Same thing with D fritz 8. I gave up all my pawns. It didn't matter just to open him up. After H3, takes H3, A4, D7 into the Donna's bird, H1, F6, G1, G4, G3. Yes, I played what I did all the way up to that point where I gave up the pawns. It was all me. It was like 16 to 18 moves against D fritz 8 was all me. Then I had to learn from there and memorize 23 continuation moves. Game over. Shredder's a little bit different. You don't want to remember those continuation moves. That's playing a game you don't want to get into. All right, on with it. After G3, E2 takes, D8, B4. And this is much easier to remember these continuation moves if I had to. But I'm not I told you, no more memorization for me. I'm done with it. After B4, E8, C4. You move your pieces around. If I didn't mention it, oh, the night bird's coming up after C4, D7. There's your night's bird. F2, B6, G5, H5, H3, takes G3, G5, F4, takes H8, G3, F6, A5, B5, E3, C8, G7, H5, G4, B7, takes F7, G8, H4, G6, G4, G8, E7, C8, H3, takes H3, H2, F3, B5, takes 8, B5, A6, takes A6, takes C7, takes C7, G4, H1, check G3, G1, takes E4, F1, takes D5, C8, takes B4, E2, G3, D1, C3, C1, and D5, B2, E4, A8, check, B7, A1, E3, H1, E2, C1, G2, E1, F1. And basically after this, then probably wasn't listening to arrows. There's probably other ways, but I did it my way. D2, B4, H1, C6, E3, G6, F3, H4, E3. Didn't want to take it. Queen, check, yada, 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 lose your rook, whatever. D1, F4, F2, G5, F1, takes H4, queen, C4, D7, H4, G1, G4, takes G4, E4, and you know how I like it. Take that pawn, C2, H4, nope, G6, nope, keep them hidden, B3, H4, B2, H3, B1, H2, F5, H1, and that's game. Nope, that's the way it is. Like I said 15, 20 years ago when I played Deep Fritz 8 when it came out. I'm looking for the best program. I was writing a book at the time. And then I wanted somebody to sing my words. Nobody sing it, so I went and bought music equipment. Now I make beats, which is called Chainbox on YouTube. And I got back into chess again. I never did videos back then because, you know, when I beat Deep Fritz 8, I wanted somebody to see it, then realized that it keeps changing its moves to fix things, and then I realized what is this? You know, they're going to keep changing. Things are going higher. Things are changing. But I know you can't change the ELO factor. Well, they can. Well, they did. Here, they put the knight over the queen, is what they done, and this is how I know about how this works now, and today, and what they're doing, and how things change, and what's going on, and that's the way it is. They're changing ELO factor. That's what they're changing. And shredders, these programs, they play to lose. The shredder played to lose, but humanly, most people can't, unless you know how to read complicated positions like this. See, because you know how the end goes, but let's go back over this, because it created this, you know how the end goes, and I know what I'm going to do already, because the way I play chess is like this, and move my pieces. There's his king. There it is, the original, and now I go. I know what this is. Learned from D Fritz 8, and sometimes it went the other way, Fritz, and then I had to remember still, and even the other way, there's another way to beat it at this level, like this. If the pawns went, if he pushed this one and goes, there's another way to do all that. But this one was easier for me, and I enjoyed better that way, and I beat it 50 times, remembering 23 continuation moves. But it never did that. I ended up trading, losing the pieces, getting him open, and then after about 16, 18 moves, I had to memorize these moves. And the shredder was something else. It was a different kind of monster to deal with. And this is basically normal style, what you see me even remember in 76 and the 77, when I don't use no arrows, and it looks just like this. But things are a little bit different, though, too. Goes a little bit more, this is higher, but you still got the idea how you move your pieces around here. It's like, it looks good, it's complicated, but really it's not. It is. To remember this stuff, it's hard. It was hard for me to remember those 23 continuation moves, too. But I didn't have to remember the first 16, 18 moves. That's not what I remembered. I only had to remember 23 after that. Once the king got open, then I had to remember it. And it was a strange way to do that. Now, basically, game's over here. You can run it any way you want. And basically, that's what I did. I just went around and started taking pawns. I didn't start going for the mate. Obviously, this is more likely this was me, and even though I was choosing my arrows, I couldn't go no further than that because of that there. And that's why I start running a pawn. I choose things differently. I got the pieces. I'm just trying to top it off the way I like to top it off. And that's the way it went. And like that, I don't run around with a queen. I could have jumped that knight up there many a time, then go get the checkmate and just do it. Nope, I did it my way. I still did it my way. This whole game, I did it my way. Even though I chose the arrows. The opening, I created. And still did it my way. But it gets to a point where it's just forced. It does. It gets to a point where it's forced. You got to take the best moves in, and that's what I'm saying. You got to take the best moves, and that's it. Now, not all this. This is all me. This is all me. This is all me. Now, somewhere around here, things get a little bit like moves like this. Okay, that's like 19 moves. I was right. All right, thanks for stopping by, and we're going to finish this series up.